Vanity of vanities. All things are vanity. What good is a man's toil and anxiety of heart? That's what we heard in the first reading from Ecclesiastes. And the second reading from Paul tells us to put away our earthly things, our evil desires. Stop lying to one another. Stop your evil desires. Put on the image of your Creator. So one wonders, is there a relationship between worthless anxiety from the first reading and evil desires in the second reading? Maybe. I'd like to share with you two stories of vanity. Because we have to be consistent with our vocabulary, right? Vanity of vanities. That's what we heard in Ecclesiastes. All right. So, the first story, vanity of vanities, the vanity of Christmas sparkles. So, a year and a half ago, I had the 10 p.m. Christmas Eve Mass. And that's the one that has the children's choir from the schools. It was a very well-attended Mass. And I got in around 9:30, nice and early, start setting up for Mass, check in with people. And I like to tease my servers a little bit before Mass. Cut the tension, ease the tension, all that sort of thing. So I get to the sacristy, and all four of my servers are there. They were on time. Yay for them. So I put on my alb and my other things. I open the closet, and I start looking through the white chasubles, because you wear white on Christmas. And there in the back of the closet was a chasuble. It was so bad. It was just so bad. It's hard for me to think about without laughing. It was a cream-colored chasuble, so it was either in very bad taste or it was just that old. And it had tiny sequins all over it, so the entire thing was glittering. So, of course, I have to pull it out of the closet and say, all right, guys, it's like a 1970s prom dress they turned into a church garment. So how about this one for today? And, of course, one of the servers that knew me a little bit better than the others said, Father, if you wear that, we are going to call you Sparkles for the rest of your life. And I guess I was in an argumentative mode. I said, so you're saying that I wouldn't be able to rock this during Mass tonight and look fantastic? Well, it was at that point that Mary Jo came into the sacristy. She'd known me since the first moment I got to the parish. Very proper, pretty pious, a little stern. And she walks up to me. She puts a hand on my shoulder and says, Father Justin, your mic is on. And it was. The entire church heard that entire conversation. Turned my mic off. We all had a laugh. I did wear that as a punishment to myself, I think. And the rest of the evening went on without a hitch. Okay, so that's story number one. Story number two is the vanity of piano music at Mass. Sorry. So back in the seminary, when you're a seminarian, you're all required to take turns being a cantor, so the singer. And when it's your turn, you're not free to choose the song. Those are chosen months in advance. So, the night before I take a look, and it's a really hard song. It would be hard for me, it would be hard for the entire community. So I make the extra effort to learn it on the piano. Nothing that'll win an award or anything, but more than just plunking out the melody one finger at a time. So the next morning comes along, and I'm all set, and Mass begins, and I play the song, and I sing, and it doesn't sound like too many people are singing along with me. But I can't tell because my entire attention is on the music. But when the priest gets to the chair at the end of the song, it's perfectly clear that no one is singing along with me. It turns out I used the wrong book. In the chapel, we have two hymnals, a red one and a blue one. We use the red one 9 times out of 10, And on the sheet with the music numbers, there was a little symbol saying it was time for the blue gather book, and I missed it. So no one was singing along because the numbers didn't match up the right way. And when Mass started, the priest goes, "Well, that was interesting. So, Justin, we're singing number 322 in the gather book, right?" And I just shake my head sheepishly. And as everyone in the chapel is looking back at me, I could feel myself shrinking in shame. and I was so jarred that day, I couldn't bring myself to take communion. So, yeah, it was a big deal. So, those are the two stories. Now, here's how they're similar. They're both embarrassing stories. They are both unintended moments in life. You didn't see it coming. They both happened because I made a mistake somehow. And ultimately, they're both stories about unwanted attention. So to a fly on the wall, they're identical stories. But they're not, are they? So what's the difference? In the end, it's only one difference. Worthless anxiety, like we heard in the first reading. In the first story, no anxiety. A mistake was made, attention was brought to it, no real damage was done, and life went on. In the second story, a mistake was made, attention was brought to it, and damage was done, because feelings were hurt. And because of that, the entire Mass was just one big chunk of anxiety. And no good comes from that. All right? And see, when Paul tells us to put away earthly things, he's talking about things that bring us down for no real reason. You know, I was worried about something I couldn't change, the past. You know, regular worry is useful. It keeps you cautious in times of trouble. That's not a bad thing. Anxiety just makes you unhinged, and nobody likes that feeling. So maybe when Paul says, put away your evil desires, put on the image of your Creator, maybe part of what he's talking about is to be aware of the difference between teaching and tormenting, between correcting and coercing, between showing someone a better way and mocking them for a mistake. Because one of those things is heavenly, and one thing is earthly. One thing builds people up, one thing knocks them down. So the question is, do we build up confidence or do we build up anxiety? What do we do for ourselves? What do we do for others? Because remember, both heavenly things and earthly things, they can affect you and the people around you. The fact is, we all teach and we all torment. At least a little bit from time to time. It happens, you know. You thought it was funny at the time, but it wasn't funny to everybody. We've all been there, but it doesn't mean that we can't do a little bit better. So, let's take today to renew our God-given ability to help one another as fellow flawed and imperfect people, and let's do our best to put away our earthly things, whether they be evil desires, vanity, or worthless anxiety.